Okay, I am going to show you how I get to a finished product with a photo. This is actually a JPEG image. It is not a raw image. And there are really just a few steps that I take. I actually have streamlined my process a lot because I use some of the Pure Baby actions from Pure Photoshop actions, and I bought set 1. So the first thing that I usually do is brighten it up, not quite that much. That's probably good. Just so it looks like a natural brightness, essentially. The next thing that I like to do is use the Just Pop It Baby, and so I do that. I've noticed that the second Just Pop It is kind of a darkening, and I prefer to have a lighter, brighter tone to my picture, so I actually always delete that. And then this is basically just adding a layer of contrast. So what I usually do is just kick it up a notch. 34, 35, somewhere in there is usually pretty good. But you'll notice that her eyes also get really dark. So what I do is since it's a mask, I'll actually take a brush and zoom in a little bit, and I will brush this off of her eyes just to make sure that her eyes stay nice and bright. You can see that added back some of that brightness and the shine a little bit. Now you'll notice getting closer in, there's a little bit of shadow over here. You know, I don't think it's really too heavy, and so I don't think it takes away from the image necessarily, but if I wanted to get rid of that, then one thing I could very easily do is this is my dodge tool right here. So if you want to use, go between the dodge and sponge and burn tools in PSE, at least PSE7, you just hold down and then you can select one of these. So make that a little bit bigger. I find that 7 is a pretty decent exposure to use. And you can just lightly go over that area. I wouldn't do very much or very heavily. And then a little bit down here too, so that it still blends in, because otherwise it looks like her face is bright and everything else isn't. So there's that, and you can see if we just go back a little bit, you can just see that it just takes a little bit of that shadow away. So we'll leave that, we'll take that, we'll use it. And the next thing that I like to do after I have used Just Pop It Baby is to go in and add a little bit of color. And so I have Look at All That Color Baby, and that's the next one that I use. And I would not leave it like this because she looks a little Oompa Loompa-ish. I just like to add a little pop of the color. So somewhere, I'm finding that for this particular photo set, 28 is actually pretty satisfactory. So it's just a little pop. It's not super noticeable, but you'll see that it's just enough. If you find that the skin is looking, you know, too red or orange or something, especially if you really want a vibrant look that you get with this, but notice how there's just that kind of orangish on the skin. What you can do is you can actually, just like we did with the eyes, is you can paint it away. And so I usually use like a 40 or 50 for something like that, but you can paint it off the skin like that, but I don't want to do that. So I like it here at 28. That's perfect for me and for my taste. So we're going to keep that. And then you'll notice that her eyes, they're okay, but I might want to just pop them a little bit. I have this I Love action, and I believe that this is from the Coffee Shop blog. Oh, it doesn't tell me. So it is either from Coffee Shop blog or Everyday Elements. I couldn't tell you for sure which, but it's one of those. So I have I Love 2 is what it's called, and I will zoom in on her eyes, and I don't use very much of the brightness. So when I gotta make sure, because this is black, gotta make sure you have white. I will use it like around a 7-8% is all. I really don't do anything too dramatic. Get a little closer there. And I will paint that in just that. So you can see it just gives a tiny bit of pop to the eye. And then you can always add a little bit of definition if you want. Some people go a little crazy with the definition. I think like a 30 is usually pretty good. And I only do it on, I think this is called the iris and the pupil, and just a little bit. So, you know, nothing too dramatic. You can see a little bit of a difference there and a little bit of a difference there. So that when I'm zoomed out, that it looks a little bit brighter and a little more natural. So without it, that's what it looks like. And you can see it's just a tiny pop. I don't like to do any more than that, otherwise it looks like she's got fake Barbie eyes, is what I think. So I like where that's at. And then from here, you know, there are a couple steps that you can take if you find, for example, that you don't like the bokeh that you got in the back. Sometimes I will blur a little bit more, but I actually like how things are looking right here. So really there are two more steps that I would do. I use the Imaginomic noiseware filter. I generally use it actually on the default setting. And so this is zoomed all the way in, and you can see at kind of more of a normal view that just takes, I had to have my ISO I think around 1,000 that day. So this kind of helps with any of the noise that's in the picture. Default, I think, kind of gives it that nice look without, again, kind of looking Barbie or plastic or anything like that. So I like to use that one. And then for me, the final step is just a little pop of brightness. That's a lot of a pop of brightness. So somewhere around there is good for me. This is my style and my taste. You know, another step that you can take, something else that I do like that the Pure Baby actions have, is this All About the Bling Baby. So if I actually go back a couple steps, I need to have my histogram in the window, but I don't. So before I do the Imaginomic, sometimes what I'll actually do is add, whoops, not color, it's All About the Bling. And what that does is you'll kind of notice it just makes her stand out just a little bit more, which is nice. I don't always use it at full. I usually actually use it around 50-ish. So it's just a tiny bit of a pop. And it'll help bling the eyes out a little bit. And then my noiseware. I've already seen what that looks like, so I'm going to approve it. Extra slow. And then you'll see, like I said, this is kind of dark for me and for my taste, so I just pop the brightness. Where were we? About 13, 14. Yeah, I like that a lot better. And that's it. So in the organizer you can see the before image, you know, which isn't bad. It's a good SOOC picture, I think. But we just made a few improvements and give it a nice little pop. I hope you enjoyed the show. My website is www.daniellebaileyphotography.com.